What is buffer time? What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
Hey there, Buffer Timers, we're here again! And this week's things to talk about in the Trek realm are Something Borrowed, Something Green from Lower Decks, and Worst Contact, the very short trek. We're going to start with that, but before we get into it, let's introduce ourselves. I am Dustin from Best of Trek, Worst of Trek.
Arg, I am an Orion pirate who just happens to be an albino, and my name is Del.
And I am Skit from the YouTube channel Opinions No One Cares About.
Thanks, Skit. All right, so, Del couldn't even finish this thing, so my first and really biggest question, what in the actual fuck with Worst Contact and in general the very short treks? What is it that we're getting here?
I feel like it's a little bit like they're saying, okay, we've established that this is not canon, so we're going for broke. Whatever weird crap you want to throw in there, run with it.
I feel like it's... How do I put this? All right, you're all Trek fans. You're all Trek fans. Here's what I think.
I know, Jimmy.
I don't know many Trek fans who go for the, below Beavis and Butthead humor. It just seems like they're making these shorts for people who don't watch Star Trek, who just want to ba-dum-ching real quick.
Okay.
And that's not, I'm not in it. I'm a big TAS fan. I was looking forward to this. And this one, I may not watch any of the other ones after this one. And I couldn't even finish this one.
That is fair.
Is it weird that a show that's avoided toilet humor to the point of not really showing toilets now has chosen to do these very short treks that are like, yeah, like we were just saying, it's like, it's Beavis and Butthead. It's dick and fart jokes.
Yeah. I think what is it they've done? Maybe two things that were kind of pointed at toilet humor, because there's that one episode of Enterprise where Trip's explaining how the waste reclamators work.
Why do I have to answer the poop question?
You're the engineer. And then that one bit in Discovery when Vance is telling Osira, yeah, that apple, that was shit. But this, this seems way more just like total gross out humor, and that's just not what we're looking for in Trek, which, is covered again, I think, by the fact that they say that, it's not canon.
Yeah, what I will say, it's a callback to 2 episodes of TNG. The first is obvious in First Contact, and now we got Worst Contact. Ba-dum-ching. But the other, I actually watched this episode last night and passed out to it. This thing here almost looks like from the one with Riker, A Matter of Perspective. It's not exactly the same, but it ends the way that they are accusing him in that one.
Yeah.
Of him firing a phaser at the thing, and then it blows up. Like, oh yeah, hey, bye.
And then Riker fired a phaser at this thing, and it blew up.
Yep.
Hey, get in. Over sure would be more well received. The 2 mediocre ones weren't dropped first. Maybe? You're not a dumbass. I love your work.
Yeah, and I did like, to be clear, I thought this was funnier than the first 2 combined. Yes. But it's still weird. The whole thing is weird. This very short trek thing is like,
Fair. They did continue in the gross vein between, snot everywhere and microwaving fish.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it's right at the end, they're like, oh, but we didn't even get to treat them by licking their eyeballs. Like, oh.
Yeah, I know Del checked out at boogers, and it was the fish for me. Then I'm like, whoa, okay, no, no, not the fish.
Yeah, I told Rave about the fish part when I heard about it, and she was like, yeah, I don't blame you for not watching it.
Do these aliens really have something to teach the Federation, or are we overthinking this?
I believe they do. Which is probably because, am I the one that wrote that? I might have been.
You were.
The only thing we could possibly learn from these aliens is what it took for their race to survive without succumbing to just virulent disease. They somehow overcame, like, there had to have been a plague at some point that they figured out how to get past, and now they've created warp drive.
Well, maybe that's what they have to teach the Federation. Maybe they have like some super immunities, and they can bring some medical knowledge to the table.
Yeah.
One could only hope.
I didn't know if they used the transporter or not, but I kept thinking to myself, now if they beam them over, would they get past the filters?
Oh.
Or would they just show up dry?
Right.
Yeah.
Captain
Did they
Biofilter
use the
seems over-
transporter in the episode?
Yeah, they
The away team transported down,
yep,
yeah.
they did.
Yeah, wouldn't they just be devoid of snot at that point? Or at least lessened to a significant degree?
Yeah, but it's still gross as hell.
Yeah.
Or the biofilter's going to have some kind of problem with it.
So here's our segue into something borrowed, something green. We're going to go into the B plot first. Was this very short trek funnier than the B plot in this week's Lower Decks? Because for me, even as stupid as it was, I hated this episode of Lower Decks B plot. Now, to be fair, we'll get into the A plot. I love that. But the Boimler and Rutherford, Mark Twain thing, it did not work for me. And I did legitimately laugh more from this very short trek.
I say. I think it had its moments, but I think overall, it was almost at the point of demeaning to Southern people. I do think if they didn't make the Sherlock joke at the end, it might have come across as insulting to Southern people.
Yeah, and it didn't come across as Mark Twain, like, at all. Is there more Foghorn Leghorn or more Colonel Sanders in this depiction of Twain between these?
I
four
immediately wrote down Foghorn Leghorn. I was like, as soon as Freeman came out with the I say, I was like, oh God.
I do
I
declare
say-
I
I
heard
say
more
so.
Foghorn than Colonel.
You know, you
I
don't
heard
have
more
to start
Colonel.
everything with I declare, right?
I mean, I think they missed a huge opportunity to just get a paid spot from KFC that would have paid for like half of the season here. I would have been okay with it, actually.
I did appreciate like one little bit of attention to detail. You'd have to get a close up of Rutherford to see it, but he like powdered or dyed his eyebrows for this bit. And it's only in the holodeck because when he's back on the bridge, like they have to report to the bridge quickly, but somehow he found the time to get his eyebrows back to their normal color. Yeah, because he's got the one that has the slit there.
Mhm.
He actually grayed his eyebrows to play Twain,
Oh, wow.
which kind of makes me think like maybe he was supposed to be Twain. I don't know what Boymes was up to there.
Yeah. So why did Boymes and Rutherford think that Chalma would be able to understand the protocol of a holodeck program from Earth's past? Yeah, I know you wrote this one, Scott, and I thought this too when I was watching. It's like, why would this other race get this? Why? Why would
That
he
dog
even...
did not hunt Monsignor.
That is very true.
Yeah.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, Boimler and Rutherford decided to call themselves Rutherford. If we were roommates, what would our names be?
Scott. Dad.
I actually wrote down Skada for the two of you, and I wrote down, what did I write down? It was something, I think I kept it Dustin, but I changed the U to an E, but it was still Dustin, basically.
think it'd be Dust Scott. But for these two, it makes way more sense to say Boimlerford.
Yeah.
It's a little,
Mr. Boimlerford.
yeah.
Especially if they're playing Southern Gentlemen. Mr. Brotherford, I have a word to say with you.
Oh, I do declare.
Tom Nation, Mr. Brother. That, which I immediately forgot as soon as we said it.
So, is the ending with the Chalma eating the bonsai tree actually an anticlimax?
Yeah.
It feels like this was an entire story to nowhere.
Right? He might as well have said, "That was a good tree. I have changed my mind for no reason."
I wouldn't say overall filler. This was all filler in the B plot. I don't think there was that much filler in the A plot. I think we got a lot of good Orion lore, but just my opinion.
But it did feel like everything else that was happening in the episode was mostly so that the Orion plot would be paced correctly and not just do a whole episode on Orion. But I think they kind of fell down with the quality of the B and or maybe other plots. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it felt very lazy except for the Tendi plot.
I could handle a whole episode on Orion, though. Like, I sympathize with Boimler at the end. Like, yeah, no, why would we want to go to a pirate wedding on a planet nobody gets to see?
I could hang out on Orion, let me just say. It looked like a very fun place to vacation.
So before we get into the A plot, do we have any new thoughts or theories as to what the big bad of the season is?
You know, when the ship turned around to face the Orions this time, I kind of looked at it as like, kind of feels like it has a face. And the face that came to mind, oddly enough, was Schwellens and Tuvix. I'm not sure why. It's kind of when he's like, I want to fit. And I think it just lends more credence to your whale theory, Dustin.
I hope so. I really hope this is where it's going. I really hope it's setting up a Matt the Whale and Kamalo episode. And at this point now, you've got to get Steve Stevens in on that plot also.
And Moopsie.
Oopsie.
We can't forget Moopsie.
I don't
No one
think you
will ever
can
forget Oopsie.
I don't think you can credibly bring Moopsie back this season, but like in a future season, absolutely. Moopsie has to come back.
I wish
really
they had
hope we
aired.
get a Moopsie in Live Trek at some point.
I really wish they had aired that episode like 2 weeks earlier, so I would have enough time to make my dog and Moopsie costume for Halloween.
The Moopsie is eternal. Nothing will kill the Moopsie. Cool seeing that Orion ship, though. That was a really badass looking ship.
Yeah.
I forget somewhere somebody said it was, I think, a TAS Easter egg. They made some kind of reference. Did they have Orion ships in TAS?
I don't think so, because there's no Orions. I don't think they come across any Orions in TAS.
I think there might have been one, but then it was the last time we saw them until Enterprise.
Yeah. I don't know if it was an Easter egg, I missed it. And I've seen TAS a couple of times, but before we get away from the Orion ship, though,
Yes.
I'm definitely shipping their captain and first officer because they are such a butch femme couple. Like a
I
real,
got that
Well,
too.
just hoping they survived.
sort of that real 1980s lesbian dynamic was going on there. And I was like, all right, these two, I could, yeah,
It's Orion lesbian mariner.
it kind of is. But yeah, so I think I'm going to have to write some slash fiction, even though I don't really do that.
And behind her, the first officer reminds me kind of Ortega's.
Yeah,
A little bit.
But does she fly the ship?
No, I don't think she does.
is the pilot seat her realm?
Oh, gosh.
So, is T'Lyn starting to upstage all of our main characters that we've come to know for the past 3 seasons?
In this episode, she didn't outshine Tendi, but she's gonna.
Mm-hmm. Now she had some really good small moments in this one. When like, what is a prime? I don't know, but it sounds cool as hell. I concur. And
Yeah,
like,
I liked everything by her.
right,
She may also be like the brand new shiny. Like we know about Boimler, we know about Mariner, but this is a wholly unknown variable. And so I think once maybe we see her more interacting with them, it won't seem as spotlighted. But yeah, okay, I'm reading. I don't have my glasses
Nope.
on.
Sorry. I'll put
oh,
that
Dan
back up.
was saying they could use Moopsie as a biogenic weapon against the Gorn.
Yeah, it'd be a great plot.
I think I saw a
in
meme for that.
Strange New Worlds. Yeah, I've seen one, and I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
Love it. In fact,
Gannon, I'm secretly a huge fan of yours. Dustin turned me on to you.
Oh right, we haven't put it up. This comment.
yeah, yep.
Simon.
Yeah.
I had brought that up in my review.
I'm going to
before.
take off the eye patch. I can put my glasses on so I don't have to lean into the screen every time. Oh, look,
The-
words.
So here's an Easter egg that I hadn't noticed, and I haven't seen any other reviewer bring up. I
what
think
one?
there's a little joke here, since Tendy's family is the 5th richest house in Orion.
Yep.
Tendy is a daughter of the 5th house. Haha, Deanna Troy.
Did anyone else? I don't remember the title of the episode, but you guys will. The one where Esri has to go back home and find Miles. It had a lot
don't
of that
remember the name
energy
of it,
to me.
yeah.
The whole like, I don't want you to meet my family because my family's very different than I am. And while I'm doing this, there's this big mystery going on, but I'm trying not to get you involved. Like it had a lot of the same sort of plot generation as that episode did.
Dustin, didn't you reference that episode, or am I just mixing that up with another review?
No, I think somebody else had brought that up for
Right.
sure. It wasn't me.
I don't know.
So how is this weird game with the bug and the drinking?
The murder bug drinking
How
game.
does this work?
So my
I-
thought here was my
Go ahead.
thought, because I
Mhm.
really want it to be a real thing, is
Right.
that the shot changes like your sweat, and that alcoholic sweat is what activates the force field. I don't know. I went through this going like, how can I simulate this in real life? But
Right.
I don't know. That was the only. I'm thinking the drink and the shield have to do something in common.
I was thinking like you have to activate the shield by putting the shot glass down in the right spot, but the
I don't
alcohol, whatever it is just so potent it'll like mess you up if you don't, and it could like distract you to keep you from doing it fast enough. So then the murder bug is going to get you.
Sort of like a weird Orion version of beer pong with murder bugs.
Yeah.
Is the Orion Club in general too overly sexualized, or is it a really good look at Orion society?
That's good, because I was actually going to say which club. I was like, they went to 2 clubs. There's like that one, and then the sex club.
This one, we'll get to the Dom dungeon, or
This one.
the Hump dungeon, in a minute.
Yes, but this one, I just want to mention, I did see couples that were not male-female. Some of them were, but in this, I looked specifically to see if there were like 2 guys hanging out or 2 girls dancing, and I was
Right.
really happy to see that there were all kinds of different genders dancing with different genders.
Yeah, this just seemed like a basic club, except with murder bugs and knife throwing.
Yeah, they even have a Coyote Ugly waitress.
That's true.
Oh, I've never seen that movie, so I didn't pick up on that reference.
The only
Yeah,
thing you need to know about it is there's a dance where a bunch of bartending women get up and be sexy on the bar. That's really the whole
Yeah.
movie.
That's most of it.
Yeah.
Do you
There's
think
like
the best?
subplot with a comic book.
Do you think one of the best bits in the episode was Mariner just taking a knife to the shoulder over and over?
The third one was a teeny bit contrived. And then like they added the fourth one we didn't see because like, oh, here's why I got stabbed in the shoulder during the daddy-daughter dagger dance. But yeah, that was funny. And the fact that she just like played it off like she wasn't even in pain. She's like, oh, I love this part of the ambiance. Then she's like, oh, what are the odds? I've sustained muscle and nerve damage. What are the odds of this? Again. So it's like,
I was going to comment something along what Gannon said is that when you asked if the club was sexual, the first club was overly sexual, the only thing we really know about Orions before this episode is that they like to dance sexy and their men are enslaved. And so I think they unfortunately had to add those details, however much they might have not fit with Tendi, but maybe that's the purpose.
yeah.
But yeah, it did feel like they were going, well, this is something you know about Orions, and this is something else you know about Orions, and then here's this one little thing you didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, I totally had a thing to say and then lost it. Oh, yeah. So yeah, if we know that like Orion men are enslaved, that it kind of stands to reason that on their home planet they'd be a little more subservient. Like how, you know, even her mom has a title and her dad is just Bert. I couldn't help think though. I forget which episode it is. It's one of the ones in season 2 where Mariner and Tendi go off on their own thing, and they meet up with a bunch of Orions off planet, and those Orion men are much more aggressive, even though it's apparently a bad pheromone season.
Yeah, in general, the pheromones thing, it was really I liked that deep dive into that for something that Enterprise just, and it even self-actualized the thing from Enterprise about how, oh, you know, Starfleet captain would get taken by a bunch of Orion pheromones. That was great. I really enjoyed the Orion hump dungeon.
Yeah.
She'll probably never see this, but there is a drag race queen named Pheromone. And when they were saying things like I'm on the moan, I kept looking in the background for Pheromone. She looks a lot like Christina Aguilera. She does impersonations. You know the word I'm looking for. But yeah, so the idea that like every time they were like, I'm on the moans, I would see this drag queen in the background.
All hopped up on the stink.
Yes.
Well,
all I have is my stink.
I almost gave that one another like, but I didn't feel like I could give 4 likes for a single scene of this episode. But I really love this. Did anybody think that she was like Ursula?
Yeah, I was in a different. I think I was on N Squared, and we talked about like if it was the same voice actor, but it can't be because Pat Carroll died.
yeah.
But we were. I made a random comment about the Green Ursula, and then we really dug into it, like looking up who the actors were. She doesn't have a name, so it's hard to like research who was her voice. Like we got a good sidetrack looking into Green Ursula.
Right.
The actor I got wrong on the first watch. I mean, I didn't say it, but in my notes I was like, "Is it J.G. Hertzler as the Chalnok?" No, it's not.
No.
Yeah, but it was a rumor.
So,
Norman.
since
So if I name my YouTube channel The Hump Dungeon, do you think YouTube would just ban me from the get?
Yes.
no. No, but a lot of your content will in general probably be age restricted and demonetized. So
Whatever. I'm not doing it for
if you
people.
can get a message out there through that, by God, you probably can.
Hold up. That's your reasoning, Gannon? You can see the comment. He says if we're doing the stream on NFL Sunday, like there are more important things than football, Gannon. Especially more important.
I don't know. I just subscribed to NFL Red Zone today. So I'm missing out on my paid subscription right now. So I want to go watch some football too. But I want to talk to Trek first.
Thursday, so.
But I fully understand, like, I would almost rather be watching football. But at the same time, I love talking Trek with you guys here every Sunday. So,
yeah.
Great. Since Erica wants what she got, is the end of this story also an over-dramatized anticlimax?
it makes you feel like it should be a big deal, but it logically it is not.
I mean, you get a great fight scene and
Oh,
there's
yeah.
some backstory there for Tendi, but I don't feel like the story really, it resolves after that with, all right, we got her to the church on time. Ha ha!
I felt like Tendi was more of the vehicle to show more Orion stuff. We didn't actually learn very much about Tendi. That we didn't like. We knew that she was a big time pirate and had a title. We knew a lot of that, and really the plot line with her, with finding Dare, it was just like, look at this Orion thing. Look at this Orion thing.
You know what else?
What?
She's a powerful warrior woman, which technically makes her an Amazon Prime. Thank you and good night.
Joke of the show.
Remember, clip that later, make a short out of it.
Yes.
Totally can. Is Tendi rejecting the mold she was put into at birth, being trained as an assassin, a pretty obvious real-world allegory?
Yeah.
As someone who was raised Christian and then became pagan, I had no idea or connection to that kind of thing.
I kind of got that from someone else, but yeah. It was Jesse Gender who was kind of looking at it as a trans allegory, because I'm never going to remember exactly how she put it, but I don't know if she meant it was explicitly or implied, but yeah, it was basically, you know, Tendi was going against the role she was essentially born to play from a very young age, because you're talking about, you know, running off and playing in this starship as a little kid. So that's kind of all I've got.
Yeah.
That,
So speaking-
and I think somebody said this was a Raven class ship and compared it to the actual Raven from Dark Frontier.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. When we first saw it in the junkyard, before we saw it all laid out, I thought it was like the nose of a runabout. And then we saw the whole thing. I was like, oh, not quite. It's a Federation ship. But no, I didn't put that together, especially since, like, the closest we see that model, it's all messed up and crashed on a planet already. So
Yeah.
no, I totally missed that in the first pickup. But that makes a lot more sense too, because then that leads into a very same story for Tendi as Seven. You know, she's imagining a whole new world, while like flying the little Borg cubes and playing while she's on that ship.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty predictable real world allegory. It hits. It worked. I thought it was okay. All right. We only have one more question. We have flown through this in like half an hour.
Let me read through my notes while you ask
well,
questions.
All right. So the last thing here is what's with the ending? Where did this come from? I even like on my last playthrough looked at all the pictures and busts in here. I'm like, did this come from here? And the only thing I came really close to seeing, it's close to when Data does it's when he's doing one of the plays on the holodeck. Christmas
The Tempest?
Carol. No, Christmas Carol.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's got similar pictures and busts and stuff, but they're not even close enough to the same to be like, well, that's a callback.
See, to me, it looked like Trelane's
Oh,
layout.
yes.
Oh, I didn't look at that. That's a
Yeah,
good
it looked to
thought.
me,
Just kind of
even with the harpsichord and everything, it reminded me of you could call it, Trelane's lair.
Yeah, I'd have to look at those screenshots now and see if there's
I
something
didn't
there.
look at it closely, but the way that the wallpaper is laid out and the harpsichord and like just the whole thing immediately made me think of Trelane.
It's fair. Honestly, I don't know. I just like, it's like, we don't know why they came up with Mark Twain in the first place. It was just kind of like they reached back into history for someone else. Like, we need to pick somebody else that we can both pretend to be and, you know, talk out our stuff. Am I oh, okay. I really thought I was frozen for a second.
I do have another question.
Please.
Go
I
ahead.
found something very just disturbing and distressing in this episode. And
Oh, dear.
I don't think either of you picked it up. So in the beginning, Mariner tells Tendi that as Lieutenant Junior grades, you can finish your task and that you just be finished. I want to know if that means there's no more buffer time.
That means you get more buffer time. Way more
No,
buffer
because
time.
they don't need it anymore. They can just say, I'm done with my thing. But I was more like making fun of the fact that, we want buffer time.
Yeah.
We want buffer time. Anyway, the
Yeah,
other
we're
thing that's really
technically-
interesting about that scene, you can get leave without requesting it. It just magically shows up.
I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
that too. I was
That's a
like,
good
what?
point.
What?
And
Oh,
she
you're
can't,
getting leave.
yeah, and she can't turn it down and be like, no, I'm
Well-
not going to my parents' house. I don't care about send somebody else if you want it. Send an ambassador. Like, why does it have to be me? There are parts of my family I would refuse to go see if they went in and said, you have leave to go see those people.
Yeah, they kind of fast track through that. They're like, look, it's politically relevant. It's your own family. You can go. Oh, you don't want to go? No. You go anyway. Because this isn't military, whether or not we'd like to think of it as such.
But was it even that she had just finished her work and, there's no more because she's a lieutenant? Or was it because her schedule had been cleared for her to take this
I
leave?
didn't think about that, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was the only thing I could come up with that made any sense. But
yeah, the whole premise, the very beginning was the first time I was like, I don't think I need to think with a logical mind. I'm not going to be a Vulcan this episode. I'm going to be a Bajoran.
Yeah, Tillin's got the Vulcan part covered. Very well, actually.
I loved when she threw the report out the window. Like, that shows that she's not cold-hearted Vulcan.
Mhm.
Like, that she still understands, even maybe if she doesn't understand, but she respects that other people have emotional responses to things. But she what I like is her wit. Like, she has such a dry wit, and that seems very Vulcan to me. It reminds me of every time we've seen Spock try to break a joke, except in that short track. Where it's always a very dry observation, and either nobody laughs at it or everybody laughs and Spock doesn't know why.
Right.
It felt kind of like she seems to take that up to the next level, where she's able to kind of give bon mot and know that it's going to be funny to other people.
Yeah. Death? Yes. And also dismemberment.
Yeah.
That was great.
she's definitely very different for a Vulcan from anything we've seen in the past. I mean, she is the Mariner of Vulcans. You know, she's not to that same level of as Mariner, but she's the same kind of character. She's crass in a Vulcan kind of way, and I love it. I absolutely freaking love it.
See, I see her, wifey material. I see her more as Tendi than Mariner.
Really?
I see her trying to break out of the expectations put upon her from being a Vulcan. And I think seeing some of that wit and some of these like drop the curtain moments could be a character arc of her learning how, because I mean, why would you put a Vulcan in with the lower decks crew if you didn't want them to eventually relax and be funny?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I think that conflict is going to make interesting plot if they go in that direction. Is to sort of start with the whole like, we know you have a sense of humor, but what do you find funny? You know.
And then the question is, someday will we see her laughing? When she will in fact be the laughing Vulcan? Higher today.
And that just made me think of one of the most random things. Here's something to fill time. All right, so in the episode of TNG where Picard gets stuck in the turbo lift with kids, one of the songs that the kids bring up is The Laughing Vulcan and His Dog.
Yep.
then it's always sat weird with me. Like the laughing Vulcan. Vulcans they generally don't laugh.
Not their thing.
So yeah, what's with
As
that?
far as we
Let's
know,
talk about
Cyborg
that
didn't
for a
have a
minute.
dog.
I don't know. I think the idea of a Vulcan having a dog is almost funnier to me than a laughing Vulcan. I mean, they do have pets, but they're like super vicious, dangerous
Yeah.
pets.
The
Whereas
laughing
this
Vulcan
is
and
going
his
to be,
Sailor.
if you have a
Yeah.
dog like mine, he's going to be trying to jump into your lap and want you to like pet him and play with him all day. And he doesn't
And-
understand that you have other things to do. Sorry. But yeah, to me, and like I think about Tuvok having a dog, and to me that seems almost funnier because I almost think it wouldn't be that he wouldn't and got a dog; it would be that like a dog just followed him onto a shuttlecraft, and now he has this dog. And he's trying to figure, and like Neelix would be super excited and be like, "We can train him to do tricks," and Tuvok's like, "Then take the dog." But the dog does that thing where mommy and daddy hold cookies and call him and see who he goes to, and he goes right to Tuvok. I'm
Bro,
writing the whole episode.
I was just gonna say
Just a
you just
whole-
penned a better Very Short Trek than Very Short
Mhm.
Trek has done yet.
Hey,
We haven't even seen the one with
Viacom,
Neelix
I'm not a scab, but maybe when the strike is over, I have a whole thing I'm writing for Scott about how Naomi Wildman becomes the Borg Queen. So if you want strange, rear plot, give me a phone call. I'm easy to find.
For all we know, like there's supposed to be a very short trek with Neelix in it. That could be part of it. We don't know. Mr. Vulcan, you found a dog.
They stole my ideas because they went to the future and watched our live stream and then went back to the past and said that idea is so hilarious and they won't know it's stolen because we stole it from the future, so it hasn't happened yet.
Time shenanigans.
Very short trek
You're a
writers.
bitch.
And also Tendi.
Yeah, I literally I got nothing else for this episode. I generally liked
Oh,
the A plot.
no.
I loved going to Orion. The B
So I have
plot.
another little like
Mm.
Dell question, the little weird
Uh-huh.
things I pick up on.
Uh-huh.
I guess it's like on the anyway, someone calls someone an Orion plagiarist instead of a
Yep.
pirate. And I wrote down, but aren't plagiarists word pirates?
Yes.
Oh,
Like, because it made me think of when Melania stole Michelle Obama's speech. Like, I was like, that's like word piracy.
I am a word pirate.
But anyway, yeah, I thought that was really funny. Okay,
Dude, this
here's
is
the
good.
thing: a reference that I know, but I don't know where it's from.
Oh boy.
Go.
There is an alien, and I believe it's not TOS, and
It
it's
has
not
nose ridges.
Enterprise, and it's not Discovery or Forward from there. But an alien who had like a flat rectangular metal piece of metal that went like through his nose and out his face
oh yeah,
again.
yeah. We've already seen him in
Yes.
in Lower Decks. I can't remember
was
his
it a
name, but
collector?
it's from The Most Toys.
Yeah, as a collector.
So when they were when the Orions were talking about how their girlfriend got bolts and how cool that was,
Yeah.
the first thing I thought when she said that was maybe that was an Endorian piercing.
Oh wow.
It's a callback to Enterprise, actually. When we see the Orions, when Soong, the first chronological Soong, takes. Actually, it's not even the first with Picard.
Nope.
I'm not even going to try to get into that.
No need.
When he takes the Enterprise through like Orion territory, and they're auctioning the crew off, and you see that big I can't remember what wrestler took
Big
that
Fun.
role. Big Fun.
I am pretty sure that's his name. It's like Big Ron. It's like Big something. But
The Big Show?
I don't
yes,
think
yes. All right,
Oh,
Big
it
Fun
is
was a
a famous
reference to
wrestler, but I don't
Heather's.
think it's the
I
Big Fun.
apologize.
But either way, yeah, and he had the metal that was permanently
Yeah.
implanted in his head.
But I
So
kept
that's
thinking about
what it's
that
called
coil
back to.
guy.
That's fair too. Yeah, I got nothing else. I'm ready to rank this thing. You
Yeah.
guys are?
Sure.
All right,
I
so
think I
as
got
usual,
everything.
let's go out of 10, and I've got a 5.5, which doesn't sound like much, but considering last week was a 4, I really liked the A plot, and the A plot is all 6 of those points, and the B plot gets a 0.
Fair enough.
Go ahead, Dell or Scott, whoever's ready.
I agree with Dustin, which doesn't happen all the time.
5.5.
But I wrote down a 5.5. I feel like it was a very middle of the road. I will probably remember 2 details from it in a year from now. Like it wasn't impactful. And to see Orion for the first time and not have it feel important felt weird.
Right.
And so I can't give it anything more than the exact middle, but I'll give it a 0.5 point for having having Coker on. I know his name was Coker. I can't say his race, but
Chalna?
yes, the
Chalna.
Chalna. 0.5 for him.
Okay.
Not his plot, just for him.
All right. My 0.5 is just extra to Lynn because she is killing it.
Fair.
Go ahead, Scott.
Okay. So for me, this season just keeps boiling down to, with the exception of Tuvix, how good is the A plot and is it enough to overcome the B plot? Because from like the second episode, from the second episode forward, these B plots have not been that great. Which is why I actually bumped this one a little higher. I gave it a 7.5. I enjoyed seeing Orion. It may not have been like a deep dive look at Orion culture, but we've literally never been to the home planet before, so any ship in a storm, I guess. And there were maybe 1 or 2 things I kind of enjoyed about the B plot. Boimler and Rutherford were kind of good roommates at the beginning. They both decided to dress up like Mark Twain, which is weird, and they're both kind of killing the accent, probably doing it broad on purpose. And I did get a laugh when the Chalnoth ate the bonsai tree, but like when he's like, okay, I'm good, that did bring it down a little bit. But yeah, I feel kind of like the main plot made up for that just enough to push it to almost respectable. So 7.5.
That's fair. I mean, the A plot really did kill it. I enjoyed every bit of it. I have nothing bad to say about it. All right. Any final thoughts on this episode?
We are triple threat Trek commentators because they talked about going on a triple threat girls trip. And I was like, I wrote down, no, Buffer Time is triple threat Trek commentators. So there, that was that. I think that was my last note that I didn't say anything about. So there we go.
All right. With that, I'm going to go join Gannon, watch some football, see who wins. And we will catch you guys back here next Sunday. I would like to thank you all for tuning in and my panelists for joining me this Sunday. And we'll catch you again sometime soon, Buffer Timers. Until then, live long.